Hello, friends. My name is Host Eric, and I am the host of Talking with Famous People. I have developed a speech impediment, as you can tell. I woke up this morning, and I could no longer say my L's or my R's. When I was a little kid, I couldn't say my R's. I got speech pathology. That means they made me pathological about speaking. That's not what I want to talk about, though. I want to talk about decision making and intuition as a way of, well, Metasoap, what do you want? You want more mess? You want better lighting? Yeah, I know you want me to clean those goddamn shelves. You know how much of my fucking brain is occupied thinking, oh, God damn it, Metasoap's gonna bitch about the shelves if I don't clean those things up pretty soon. I'm not joking around. You're fucking with my head, dude. Yeah. Now you make me think about it. See? Okay, decision making. This is the answer to one of Metasoap's questions she asked about. Well, not so much a question as an instruction. It's like, talk about this. So, okay, I will talk about that. Thank you for giving me the instruction. I appreciate it, Metasoap. For you, anything. Right, constructive executive. So, I was going to give you my stock answer to that before, right, which is probably why I didn't make the video. Until I just had this realization, which is it's really about decision-making power. How comfortable are you with shit happening that you don't decide? Is your decision-making conscious or unconscious? That's really the attitude or bearing at issue here. Is your decision-making conscious or unconscious? I have a perfect fucking example. It just happened with Zach. I'm going to tell it to you in 1 second. Okay, so this morning I saw Zachary's video, and so I messaged him on Facebook saying, like, fantastic, perfect, great. That's exactly what I was hoping to see, something like that, you know. Whatever, just wanted to chat with him. I was excited, you know. I just wanted to say, like, let me initiate contact with Zachary. Going into this conversation, I had no intention, I had no thought about. In this conversation, I hope to achieve the following goal. It was basically like two little kids, or one little kid and one adult, maybe a little kid, running up and going, "Isn't this cool?" And that's what it was, you know. It was just that. It was like, "Yee!" That's what I wanted to do, basically, and that's why I contacted him. But somehow the following thing happens, right? It just happens. So I just start talking about stuff because I just do that. And I started talking about time magic, which I was discussing in a previous video a long time ago, and which I'll go into more detail in a later video either. I want to go into this time magic thing. I want to spend some time on it in depth and what it means and what I'm talking about and how it works and all that kind of stuff. But as we were talking about that a little bit, and at that point I was doing what I would consider scheming. I was saying, like, hey, let's do this. Do this, do that kind of shit. Let's try this. This will be one way to influence people's perceptions. And this is how I anticipated influencing people's perceptions. This is why I want to influence those perceptions. So, for example, I was talking to him about how he should not restrict or constrain his accent. He shouldn't, like, ham it up a bunch, but should let it out a little bit more, and to go ahead and anchor himself in terms of his place, being from Kentucky, and the whole oddness of his story, you know, which is like the sort of thing that if people judged whether or not it was really your kid based not on how it looked, but on how it acted, then Zachary's father would be suspicious of Zachary's mother, since the child acts like neither of them or anybody else in the family, right? So I think that's fascinating, and I didn't have that experience. I grew up in a home with, I believe, an ENTJ father. I've decided. I think he's ENTJ. And then I'm thinking ESFJ mother. I think it's the same type as Candace. Except she doesn't like holidays and shit that much, but she's just... Oh, she's type 6. I know my mother's a Negrum type for sure, but more than... Why am I getting up on this fucking thing? Pew! Eric, come on. Stay on task. Stay on point. What is your point in this video? Oh, constructive executive. So the constructive executive work approach is one of decision making. If I had gone into that conversation with the intent of, I want Zachary to read my book, my novel that I wrote, and I think I want to get him to read it out loud on Talking with Famous People. If that had been my intention going into that conversation, that's what I would have said first thing. And that's probably not the most effective way to get that accomplished. It's better for me to go into it in a constructive approach, which is to say, go into it with no notion of what I'm doing. I'm just playing around. I'm just doing FB shit, you know? And notice that for me, that's just playing around. The only time FB shit is not just playing around is if somebody is being difficult and I know that person's difficult. Like, I give you a perfect example. When I was in China, I was living with this other coach named Ralph, and he was one of my, coaches. He was one of my subordinates. I hate all the words they have for underlings at work. It's just fucking, they're horrible, right? I fucking hate hierarchy. Anyway, he was one of my underlings, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what you fucking call it. And he and I lived in the same apartment in Shanghai when we were in China. Okay, him in the bigger room. Dude, you got there first. You take the big room, stay in the big room. Certainly I'm not going to say, now that I'm here, you go to the small room. No, dude, just stay where you are. I'll take the small room. It doesn't matter. And man, was he a fuss bucket. Jesus Christ, that guy's fuss. He's an actor, right? And in fact, he's in several famous movies. He was in Rain Man. He was in Fletch. Anyway, he's also in Sandy Vagina Quarterly, because my God, that guy was fussy, and he'd freak out at me. And then the second time he did it, I was like, all right, dude. I left him a note. I said, I am going to let this one slide too. I left a note the second time saying, I'm going to let this one slide too. But next time you freak out like that, you better be prepared to sit there and hear my response. This was the problem. He didn't want to hear what I had to say. He just wanted to freak out and then not listen to me. Not listen to me make my points. I said, you better be ready to listen to my response, or we're going to have a real problem. And that was the last time he freaked out at me at all. In fact, on a couple occasions, he'd leave the apartment or something. He never talked about it at all. He never wanted to have a conversation where we actually resolved anything. I don't know. For him, I went out of my way to do FE stuff that would coddle him, to make him less likely to be fussy about shit. So I did that frequently because I knew I was there on a finite amount of time. I was only there for a couple of months. I wasn't going to have to live with him ever again. And I needed him to be happy and productive at work. I needed him to feel appreciated. He needed to feel appreciated. He needed a lot of praise. You know, he wanted to be told he was doing a good job, and he was doing a good job. I mean, he was a kick-ass coach. That's why I put up with that shit. All right, fine. I'll go and wipe your ass as long as you keep winning shit. You know, whatever. It's worth it. It's a win-win. He gets his ass wiped, I get my freaking wins. So, whatever. And it's fair. He's entitled to make those kind of demands because he's worth it. Or he was back then. And I'm more than happy to do the FE shit because I got big picture stuff in mind, you know? That's easy. I can coddle his ass. That's what he wants. Makes him feel good, no problem. I prefer to deal with people that you can be above board about that shit and say, you know, like, I would like more praise, please. Okay, I understand that. We all have our reward areas. I will be attentive to voicing my genuine pleasure at your successes. That would be a nice way to do that, you know? Most people can't do that. So anyway, most people, they want you to manipulate them. They want you to. Otherwise, they'd be able to have that fucking conversation. Right? Anyway, constructive executive. On that occasion, that was executive on my part, and it's uncomfortable for me, and it makes me feel dirty. To be like, okay, well, I'm going to plan to attend to this person's emotional needs because he can't handle an honest conversation about things. You know, I mean, I don't like to do that, obviously. That's planning. But see, that's what planning right there. That's what I'm talking about, executive and constructive. Obviously, constructive workers work within the framework of a larger plan. Everybody has to. Otherwise, you're not working. You're just playing. There has to be, and you can play and then make the plan, though. That's the thing. That's what I do. I play and then figure out what kind of plan the play is. So when I'm playing with Zach by chatting with him over Facebook, it turns out that the plan is to ask him to, or more or less ask him to, read aloud my novel on Talking with Famous People. He has not said he wants to do that at all, or agreed to do that, but what he did say is that he would read it. And do you know how hard it's been for me to get anybody to read my novel? Either of them. Nobody's read my first novel. I think one person's read it. Liz. I want to go shout out to Liz. Liz, you read it. You read them both. Thank you very much, Liz. Nobody else would read them. You've read them. Matt, you read Gospel of the Pantheon too. So I did have a couple people read it. My ex-wife, she wouldn't read it. I asked her more or less for 5 years to read it, and she just wouldn't read it. She refused. She wouldn't let me read it out loud to her either. I understand that. Too much pressure, too much expectation. Like, it matters to me what you think about it. So, you know, because she's my wife at the time, right? It would be different if, with any other person, I want to hear their straight up honest feedback. But with my wife, or at the time, you know, in that kind of a relationship, what I'm really looking for from the woman is a lot of support, you know. That's the one relationship in my life where I don't really want a lot of honest criticism. If I'm in a relationship. I don't have that relationship now. I get it from Delilah somewhat. You know, she's pretty... She's better about not busting my chops about shit than I am about not busting her chops. Although I try my goddamn best. Neither of us like to have our chops busted. Funny, because I bust so many fucking chops all the time. But see, it depends on the kinds of chops busting it is, right? Well, anyway, that's 15 minutes. That's constructive. This is constructive. If I had planned this shit out, it would be executive.